Welcome back to The Watch. Welcome.
What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Sound of Freedom.
I've heard about this new movie.
When did you first hear about it?
I heard about it when it started making a lot of money.
Okay. Because I heard about it when we released one of the videos of Night's Watch. Some of the lovely commenters here mentioned it to me. I was like, oh, what's this? I just searched it up and I was like, wow, they're really trying to suppress this. They don't want us to know what it is.
Because I heard about this, last week or whatever.
Yeah.
We did a video where everything is flopping.
Yeah.
All the videos, movies are coming out that are flopping. A lot of them are Disney or stuff. And I heard that there was a video that was an independent one that was doing really well.
Yeah.
So I decided to have a little look into it. And I saw a lot of people don't want you to go watch this in very hyperbolic ways.
Yes.
Which just piques my interest even more.
I know. It's so interesting watching this stuff because I'm like, ooh, those conspiracies. It's always, deep dive. So those who don't know, this was an independent film made by a studio company. It's very confronting because it's about child trafficking. But it's
something we could all rally against, right?
Like it's something that you would all, very strongly be like, that is not okay. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that. And it's a movie that's really good because it actually makes everyone aware of the situation, goes through father's struggle with it. And it's apparently just a really well-made movie. You'd think, okay, like how other movies have been made about celebrities and their lives. It's so good to, celebrate things. It's also good to make people aware of things like this, which is, apparently not talked about in the media for some odd, random reason.
Now, to be completely honest, we haven't actually seen this film. Now,
because funnily enough, we live in Australia and no cinema will show it.
Really?
No.
Are you serious?
Serious. Because all the cinemas we have are owned by Village Cinemas. I think there's one independent one that they will allow you to basically rent out a theatre,
right,
and they'll show it.
Right.
But mostly in Australia, we don't have many small cinema businesses. They're all the big corporation ones.
Yeah, we have
they won't
chain ones. Yeah. I didn't know that. So Sound of Freedom, from what I understand, well, we can read it here. Sound of Freedom is a child trafficking drama, a watershed moment for faith-based filmmaking. So from what I understand, the basic premise is this guy has to go save his children.
Well, we haven't seen the film, so we have to piece it together. From what I understand, either something happens to his family or he is part of secret services who basically go into other countries and stop child traffickers.
Right.
And it goes through that exploration of all that. And there's lots of heavy faith-based stuff as well because he feels like, as a Christian, he should do these things. There's an awesome line where he's like, God gives you a command, you do it, type of thing, Something Americans, really...
Americans, really,
I love that sort of stuff. And so... 4th of July, when this came out, this made more money than Indiana Jones.
Wow. Sorry, to clarify, there's just a thing here. We'll come back to that for sure. Inspired by the experiences of Tim Ballard, a former Homeland Security agent who has latterly spent his career rescuing victims of child trafficking, Sound of Freedom tells his fictionalized story. So that's basically what it's about. His journey to Colombia to save kidnapped brother and sister who have been seized by a woman posing as a model scout. So this actually reminds me of there's another film, I can't remember off the top of my head, where they basically go in Europe and they get kidnapped by associating with strangers, basically.
Yeah.
Which I would think is pretty kind of standard. Like we had, what was it? Liam Neeson's film where he saves his daughters.
Yeah, Taken.
Taken. That's it. I was trying to think of the name. Like this is a very common
action flick. You would think.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the difference between this one and those? Would you say?
A few things. I think one of the things is that it's based off of real things. So it's not. It's a fictional story of him, but everything in it is very real.
Very real. Yeah.
There's faith-based stuff, which modern media, Hollywood hates. That sort of stuff as well. They don't whenever there's Christianity in movies now, it's always a negative towards it, I feel like. And as well, I think it actually attacks a lot of their friends.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this, I think, is because conservatives have been supporting this film, people have been wanting to go against it, which is just mind-blowing to me. Imagine a film about child trafficking.
Yeah.
Child trafficking and wanting to help children and save family members, things like that, and going, well, conservatives don't like this, so I'm against it. It's like, what?
Well, it's funny because a studio made this film. They Disney bought it
Yep.
with plans not to release it, which is okay. Why would you buy rights to something you wouldn't want to release?
Yeah.
And then the studio they've actually made it's a series called The Chosen. They're basically Bible films.
Right.
Being released for free. Really good. Christians are loving it because it's actually like high quality Bible stories.
Yeah.
They bought the rights to it and basically went to Amazon, Netflix, all these other places saying, hey, we have this awesome movie. You should put it on your platform.
Yeah.
And they've all said, no thanks, not good. Which is crazy because like Netflix will have some of the most atrocious, disgusting things on there.
Yeah, they have specific tabs for sort of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Tabs
Yeah.
for things. And they'll be like, oh, no thanks. No, we won't.
Oh, I saw some reviews from people. You remember that the controversy for like cuties or whatever it was next? The same reviewers who reviewed that as like, oh, this is who are hating this. I'm like, yeah, bruh.
It's scary.
When you review a child film that was taken down because it was
that bad.
Yeah. And then you have one that's saving children, you're going, this is terrible. Yeah. You raise some eyebrows. Let's put it that way. So here we've got a couple of articles. We've got one from the I like checking in on the Guardian. You know?
Yeah.
I always like to hear their opinion on things, you know? But they're here, they're talking about it. So Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which you were talking about before, because it's not been doing well at all.
I mean, considering they spent, nearly $500 million on it, $500 million of a budget.
Yeah.
The opening weekend was not good. 4th of July, which is when they were expecting to get a bigger push for it.
Yeah.
No one went to see it. Instead, everyone went to see this film instead.
Yeah.
And because it's a much smaller budget, they actually were able to make money from it.
Yeah. So here we got. I'm just going to read this out for a little bit because I actually want to know what they're saying here. So, but for a fleeting moment this past 4th of July, while intended audience for Indy's latest outing were presumably spending time with their families and friends at barbecues or in other social situations, and on an unoccupied fandom rallied by the star Jim Caviezel, I'm assuming that's the director or something like that, claimed the day with a 14.2 million gross versus Dial of Destiny 11.7 million. No matter these figures require selective, almost willful misleading framing to allow for the David and Goliath narrative trumpeted by supporters. How is that a narrative?
It's not. It's fact.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
Like this narrative here of when you make less money than this other small thing.
The framing of that. I'm sorry. So when you have all the fans of Indy who are, 4th of July with their families, blah, blah, blah. So it makes less money, factual.
Yeah.
But then you have the supporters who are incels or whatever, go out and watch this movie and it makes more money. That's selective.
Yeah.
That's selective facts. That's alternative. It's like, what? Am I missing something
They're
right
trying
now?
to twist something. It doesn't make sense. You just say, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and especially when it's Indiana Jones, an established like a 30, 40-year franchise from Disney versus an independent film. I'm sorry, even the fact that not the fact that it beat it on that day, but the fact that it's even in the same realm is crazy.
It's shocking.
Yeah, that's very shocking. However one chooses to slice it, Sound of Freedom has over-delivered on expectations in dollars and cents. This is accurate. Yeah. A feat of profitability uncommon for a comparatively low-budget production without a major Hollywood lead, I should say. Well, isn't that interesting? When we say Sound of Freedom has over-delivered, especially in terms of how much it cost to make, is that just an indictment on how much things cost to make now?
I think so. I think it shows with Disney and these other big places, they're spending way too much money on garbage that no one wants to watch. Where people here are making something that's actually worth watching. Like I've seen the comments on this film, and there are grown men who've said, I've never cried before in my life. And this film made me cry at the end, like because of how heavy it is. And like at the opening of the film, I know as they say, like, this is a very heavy topic. We understand this is really important to people. We hope that you like watch this with respect and whatever. And this is like a genuinely important discussion to have in society because there's an issue. Like it's an actual real issue, It's not all this other stuff we always talk about where it's just distractions from the world. It's actually something that's important to society.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Because when we think about films, right, they are, for example, Indiana Jones, what that cost, like $400 million or something like that? That's an insane amount of money for that film.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I think can raise costs like that is like CGI. It has to be CGI, which just doubles, triples prices. So why don't people just go back to using more practical effects blended in with like CGI? This is what I don't understand.
I was actually reading something about this on Twitter the other day. They're saying the reason they're doing it is because executives are taking too much control and they want to recut things too much. And it's easier. Like for example, there's that scene with Nick Fury in one of the Spider-Man films. Like he's got everything CGI. It's just him by himself. Everything else is CGI. The reason they do that is because if they show it in China, they can get rid of all the blood splats, all the guns. If they show it in another place, they can change the environment.
Right.
So it costs a lot more, but executives, at the end of whatever, shoot or whatever, they say, actually, I want to change that thing there. It's easier to change a pop that's CGI than a real one, technically speaking, if you've already got it done for.
That's so interesting. And the reason why I say that's interesting is because I don't know if you guys know this, but we're dabbling in filmmaking. We're starting to enter that realm where it's less, like we're getting a bit more into the narrative stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea of like someone taking my narrative and twisting it anyway.
Changing things.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, no, that's what they do. And with these bigger companies, the reason why they are so heavily invested in CGI is because now they can change whatever they want during the process. And as well, pickup shots too. They're saying that they will film a scene but have multiple camera angles. So, for example, if they need to censor something, or if they do screen testing and they're like, it's too woke, people didn't like it, they can at least cut that bit out and just, cut to someone going, than actually, whatever scene. So they're spending more money because they can't make up their mind because they're they're in shambles. Like, the executives have too much control, I think, as well.
Right. That is definitely... Because it just reminded me that, what's his name? Quentin Tarantino, one of my favorite directors of all time. I think he's doing his last movie.
Yeah, he is.
He's doing his last movie. And I was so sad. I'm like, no, please give me more. Please. So I find it interesting that a film like this, where it's championing something you would think is a universal, like, positive.
Yeah.
Save children.
Yeah.
Can I slice that any other way?
Fight for your country, you know, patriotism, all that other good stuff.
And then, but obviously it draws sides. It's political for some reason, so...
Well, have you seen what's been happening in cinemas as well?
No, I haven't.
So when they start the films, I don't know how real these are because they're always shot on like smartphones and, people do actually, especially in the culture war stuff, you'll start seeing more fake things.
Yeah.
But what has been posted online is there'll be glitches, there'll be errors, or halfway through the movie will fail, and then someone will come in and say, sorry guys, we have to like wait half an hour and then we'll restart the film to get everyone to try to leave and not finish watching the film.
Why?
Because they don't want people watching this film.
That seems insane.
Yeah. And the
Really?
reason, yeah. There's been glitches or things happening or issues or whatever, and it's funny because people who are going to these films know all this sort of stuff. So when it does happen, they're obviously in a roar, being like, "What do you mean? This has never happened in any other movie I've been to."
Yeah, I've never been to.
Like,
It's
digital. What do you mean your one copy of this thing is broken? Like,
sorry, our film projector broke.
Yeah, our film broke, or it glitched out. We've got to start the movie from the start, and like, don't you have like modern tools? You can just like start the movie where you left off.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else on this film? Obviously, I didn't actually know that they weren't showing it in our country. I didn't know that.
Well, because it's not.
I want to double check that.
I've been looking, and I know that some people want to try to go to more private, smaller cinemas and then rent it out.
Yeah.
But it's also getting a copy of the film to watch as well. I know the directors also stated that you can get it online for certain places. They're making it available for people to actually watch if you can't watch it.
I have no doubt that obviously everybody will be able to watch it online.
Yeah.
It's the internet. You're right. There's no showing times.
But they're not showing it in Australia.
Wow.
And it's funny because I feel like if they did, they'd actually make so much money, these cinemas, because there's nothing on right now.
Yeah, everything.
There's
is
nothing
flopping.
on.
Yeah. But I think that's everything. Would you like to take us out, Nathan?
Yes, this is a very important one to everyone, so I think we should...
Sorry we don't know more about this topic. We just...
this is all secondhand information that I've gotten from online, and stuff like, the glitches and stuff, I don't know how much I can trust it because it's just been shaky camera footage, whatever. But I hope it comes to Australia, and if not, we find a way to actually watch it. Because you know what? I would be willing to, if I can find a copy, to get a cinema... like the private ones, to actually have a big viewing of it for people here who want to see it. Because on Facebook too, all my boomer friends and stuff are all like, how can I see this movie? This movie looks fantastic. Why do I want to see it? Like, I'm like, let's get a party going here. You know?
I just want to know if it's a good movie or not. If it's a good movie, then I'll watch it. I'm sick of bad
everything I've
movies.
heard. It's awesome.
Okay.
Like it's a bloke being a guy doing his job, protecting children. You know.
Funny,
like
that's controversial.
It's good stuff. You know. Positive masculinity for some reason is toxic in this, but these are all. This is, I think, one of the more serious things we've actually covered here on Night's Watch. Usually it's pop culture, Disney, whatever. This one's actually like, okay, this is concerning. If they're not willing to show this, something so uplifting and good, then what the heck are they afraid of?
Well, I take real issues with how people who are reviewing the Netflix thing review that good and then this bad. Yeah. That sends alarm bells off for me. So.
Obviously, those watching probably know some of the darker sides of Hollywood and stuff. We won't cover that in this video because it's gets very dark very quickly, but we all need to stay vigilant on this one, and as always, stay on watch.